A single mom knelt at a grave, crying over a girl she'd secretly protected for over a year. Then a voice shattered the silence. "That's my daughter's grave." "Who are you?" She looked up into the cold eyes of a Mafia boss, the most feared man in the city. The diary hidden in her apartment held the truth about his daughter's death. And that truth would either bring him justice or get her killed. The cemetery looked different at dusk. Shadows stretched long between the headstones, and the air smelled like rain and freshly turned earth. Mara pulled her thin jacket tighter, ignoring the cold that seeped through the worn fabric. She'd waited until the groundskeeper left, until the last visitor drove away, until she was alone with the dead and her secrets. Kneeling before the marble headstone, she traced the gold lettering with one finger. Alessia Rose Moretti, 2005 to 2023, gone too soon. "Hey, sweetheart," Mara whispered, pulling a crumpled letter from her pocket. Her hands shook as she unfolded it. "Leo's asking about you again. I told him you're watching over us. I hope that's true." Thunder rumbled overhead. She should leave before the storm hit, but she couldn't. Not yet. She'd missed last week's visit because she'd worked double shifts at the diner. The guilt had eaten at her for days. "He got an A on his science project," she continued, her voice breaking. "The one about butterflies. Remember when you taught him about metamorphosis? You said people can transform too, if they're brave enough." Tears blurred her vision. "I'm trying to be brave, Alessia. I really am." The first drops of rain hit her shoulders. "I brought you something." She pulled a small origami crane from her pocket, poorly made, with uneven folds. "Leo made it. He said it's a wish for you. He wouldn't tell me what he wished for, but I think I know. He wishes you were still here." A tear dropped onto the paper crane. "I wish that too." She didn't hear the cars, didn't see the headlights cutting through the gathering darkness until boots crunched on gravel behind her. "That's my daughter's grave." The voice was cold, precise, and utterly without mercy. Mara's heart stopped. She turned slowly, still kneeling, and looked up at the man towering over her. Damien Moretti. She'd seen his face once, in a photograph Alessia had hidden in her diary. But the picture hadn't captured the raw power that radiated from him, or the dangerous intelligence in his dark eyes, or the barely contained rage that seemed to simmer just beneath his expensive suit. 4 men flanked him, all wearing black, all watching her with the cold assessment of predators. "I asked you a question," Damien said, his voice dropping even lower. "Who are you?" Mara's mouth went dry. She tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude." "You're crying at my daughter's grave." He took a step closer, and she saw something flicker in his eyes. Not just anger.
Pain.
Raw, bleeding pain that mirrored her own. Reading her a letter. Bringing her origami cranes. "So I'll ask one more time. Who the hell are you?" She clutched the letter to her chest. "Nobody."
I'm nobody.
"Liar." The word cracked like a whip. One of his men moved forward, but Damien raised a hand, stopping him. "People don't cry for nobody," Damien continued. "They don't visit graves in secret. They don't." His eyes locked onto the letter in her hands. "What is that?" "It's private. Please, I should go." He moved faster than she expected, yanking the letter from her grip before she could react. Mara gasped, reaching for it, but one of his men grabbed her arm and hauled her to her feet. "Boss?" the man asked. Damien didn't answer. He was reading, his jaw tightening with each line. The rain fell harder now, soaking through their clothes, but he didn't seem to notice. Mara watched his face change. Confusion.
Shock.
Then something darker, suspicion mixed with desperate hope. "How do you know this?" he demanded, his voice rough. "These details. These private moments. How?" "I can't tell you. Not here. Not like this." "You'll tell me now." He stepped closer, and she could smell his cologne. Expensive, understated, nothing like the cheap body spray the men at the diner wore. "My daughter ran away 2 years ago. She was gone for 14 months. The police found nothing. No trail, no witnesses, no evidence. She came back different. Scared. And 3 months later, she was dead. His voice broke on the last word, just slightly, but Mara heard it. The letter says Leo made a crane. Damien continued, his eyes boring into hers. Alessia taught him about metamorphosis. That's not public information. That's not something you could know unless... He stopped, and understanding dawned in his eyes. You knew her. During those 14 months. You know where she was. Mara's silence was answer enough. Boss, want me to take her to the car? One of the men asked. No, Damien folded the letter carefully and slipped it inside his jacket. Not yet. First, she's going to tell me everything. Every single detail. He leaned down until his face was inches from hers. You're going to tell me where my daughter was, what happened to her, and why she was so terrified when she came home that she couldn't sleep without the lights on. Mara's breath came in short gasps. If I tell you, people will die. People are already dying. His voice was ice. There's a war brewing in my organization because half my men think I killed my own daughter to consolidate power. The other half think I'm weak for grieving her. So trust me when I say, a few more bodies won't make a difference. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the graveyard in stark white. For just a moment, Mara saw past the Mafia boss, past the expensive suit and the armed guards, to the broken father standing at his daughter's grave. She loved you, Mara whispered. Even after everything, even when she was scared, she loved you. She wanted to come home. Damien's composure cracked. Just for a second, a flash of raw agony, before the mask slammed back into place. Then why didn't she? He asked quietly. Why did she stay away? Because someone in your family wanted her dead, Mara said. And that someone is still out there. The words hung in the rain-soaked air. Damien stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Bring the car around, he said. And clear my schedule for the night. We have a guest. He ended the call and looked back at Mara. You're coming with me. You're going to tell me everything. And if you're lying, if this is some scheme... His voice turned deadly. They'll never find her body. Mara thought of Leo, asleep at her neighbor's apartment. Leo, who'd already lost Alessia, who couldn't lose his mother too. But she also thought of the truth rotting inside her like poison. The truth that had gotten Alessia killed. Maybe it was time to let it out. Okay, she whispered. I'll talk. But not at your mansion. Somewhere public. Somewhere safe. Damien smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You think anywhere is safe from me? No, Mara admitted. But I have to try. He studied her face for another moment, then nodded once. There's a diner on 5th Street. Mario's. We'll meet there in 1 hour. He turned to leave, then stopped. And Ms. Mara. Mara Collins. Miss Collins. If you run, I will find you. If you lie, I will know. And if you had anything to do with my daughter's death, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The threat hung in the air as he walked away, his men following like shadows. Mara stood alone in the rain, trembling, staring at Alessia's grave. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. But I can't keep your secrets anymore. The origami crane lay on the wet grass, slowly coming apart in the rain. Mario's diner sat on the corner of 5th and Lexington, its neon sign flickering in the rain. Mara arrived 15 minutes early, her heart hammering against her ribs. She chose a booth in the back corner where she could see both exits, though she knew it was pointless. If Damien Moretti wanted her, locked doors wouldn't stop him. The waitress, Betty, who worked the night shift, poured her coffee without asking. You look like hell, Han, Betty said, not unkindly. Rough day. Something like that. Mara wrapped her hands around the warm mug, trying to stop the shaking. Through the rain-streaked window, she saw the black SUVs pull up. 3 of them. Damien stepped out of the middle vehicle, flanked by his men. The diner's bell chimed as they entered. The few other customers, a truck driver, an elderly couple, a college kid studying, all went silent. You didn't need to know who Damien Moretti was to recognize danger when it walked through the door. He slid into the booth across from Mara, and his men fanned out, positioning themselves by the exits and the counter. One of them, the scarred man from the cemetery, stood directly behind Mara's seat. "Coffee," Damien told Betty, without looking at her. "Black." Betty's hand trembled as she poured. She left the pot and hurried back to the kitchen. "Talk," Damien said simply. Mara took a breath. 2 years ago, a girl showed up at the homeless shelter where I volunteered. She was 16, terrified, and using a fake name, Emma Davis. She had money, cash, but she was sleeping in parks because she was too scared to rent an apartment. Why didn't the shelter report her as a runaway? She was convincing. Said she'd aged out of foster care, had no family. The shelter was overcrowded. They didn't look too closely, Mara's voice dropped. I did. I could tell she was running from something bad. So I offered her a place to stay. My apartment was small, but Leo was only 6. He needed someone to watch him while I worked anyway. Damien's expression remained unreadable. Go on. She lived with us for 14 months. She helped with Leo, taught him things, made him laugh.
She was brilliant, Damien. Kind.
She never told me her real name, but one night, after a nightmare, she told me everything else. Everything. Mara met his eyes. She told me she was the daughter of a Mafia boss. That she'd witnessed something she shouldn't have. That someone in her own family wanted her silenced permanently. The coffee mug stopped halfway to Damien's lips. She told you someone in my organization wanted her dead. Not your organization. Your family, Mara leaned forward. She said it was someone close. Someone you trusted. She ran because she didn't know who else might be involved. She didn't know if even you. If even I wanted her dead? His voice turned dangerous. She was 16 and terrified. Can you blame her? Damien's jaw clenched. What did she witness?
She wouldn't tell me.
She said knowing would put me and Leo at risk. Mara's throat tightened. But whatever it was bad enough that she believed her own family would kill her for it. Lies. The word came from the scarred man behind Mara. Boss, this woman's running a con. Probably read about Miss Alessia in the papers. Figured she could. Alessia had a birthmark. Mara interrupted, not taking her eyes off Damien. Shaped like a crescent moon. Left shoulder blade. She hated it. Used to say it looked like God changed his mind halfway through making her. Damien's face went pale. She was allergic to strawberries, Mara continued. But she loved the smell, so she'd buy strawberry shampoo anyway. She had nightmares about a basement, a cold one with concrete walls and a red door. She'd wake up screaming about the red door. Stop, Damien's voice was barely a whisper. She hummed when she cooked. Always the same song, that old lullaby your mother used to sing. Stella Stellina, she taught it to Leo. I said stop. The diner went dead silent. Even the rain seemed to pause. Damien's hands were shaking. He pressed them flat against the table, composing himself with visible effort. The birthmark wasn't in any medical records, he said finally. The nightmares. She never told anyone about those. And my mother's lullaby, he looked up at Mara, and she saw belief warring with suspicion in his eyes. Why did she leave? If she was safe with you, why come back? Mara's own eyes filled with tears. Leo got sick. Really sick. Pneumonia that turned into something worse. The hospital bills were crushing me. I was going to lose the apartment. Alessia saw what was happening and said she had to go home, had to get money to help us. So, she came back for you. I begged her not to. Told her we'd manage. But she wouldn't listen. She said, Mara's voice broke. She said you were a good father. That despite everything, she trusted you. That she'd be safe as long as she stayed close to you. But she wasn't safe. Damien's voice was hollow.
No.
3 months after she came home, she was dead. The official story was a car accident, but it wasn't an accident. Damien pulled out Mara's letter again, spreading it on the table. This letter. You mentioned details only family would know. There's only one way you could know these things. His eyes locked onto hers. You have something else. Something she left with you. What is it? Mara's silence was all the confirmation he needed.
What is it?
Her diary, Mara whispered. She kept a diary the whole time she lived with me. When she went back, she left it hidden in my apartment. Said if anything happened to her, I should keep it safe. Damien leaned back, processing. And this diary names her killer? Yes.
Who?
Mara shook her head. Not here. Not until I know Leo is safe.
Leo?
Your son. If I tell you what's in that diary, the person who killed Alessia will come for us. I need protection. Real protection. Or the diary stays hidden. Damien stared at her for a long moment. Then he smiled, a cold, predatory smile that made her blood run cold. You're either very brave or very stupid, Miss Collins. You don't make demands of me. I just did. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his expression changed. Where's your son right now? With my neighbor.
Why?
He turned the phone screen toward her. It showed a grainy photo. Leo, asleep on a couch, taken through a window. Text below, we need to talk about the diary. Mara's world tilted.
No. No, no, no.
She was already running for the door when Damien's voice stopped her cold. They're watching him. You go charging in, they'll take him, he stood, buttoning his jacket. But I can get him out. I can protect you both. Mara spun around, tears streaming down her face. Why would you help me? Because, Damien said quietly, whoever killed my daughter just made a mistake.
They revealed themselves. And now?
His eyes turned to ice. Now they die. 20 minutes later, Mara sat in the back of Damien's SUV, her fingernails digging into the leather seat. The windshield wipers beat a frantic rhythm against the rain as they approached her neighborhood, a rundown area where the streetlights flickered and trash collected in the gutters. Third building on the left, she said, her voice tight. Apartment 4B. Damien spoke into his phone. Circle the block. Report anything suspicious. And get eyes on the neighbor's apartment, 3B. Kid's 8 years old, brown hair, probably wearing dinosaur pajamas. He ended the call and looked at Mara. My men will extract your son. You're staying in the car. Like hell I am. You show your face. Whoever's watching knows we're coordinating.
They panic, people die.
Maybe your son, his voice softened just slightly. Trust me, I've done this before. Mara wanted to argue, but the logic was sound. She nodded, hating every second of it. The SUV stopped a block away. Through the rain, she could see her building, a crumbling brick structure that should have been condemned years ago. Home. 2 of Damien's men exited the vehicle and disappeared into the shadows. The minutes crawled by like hours. Tell me about your son, Damien said suddenly. Mara blinked. What? Tell me about Leo. It'll help. Trust me. She swallowed hard. He's 8. Loves dinosaurs and space and those nature documentaries where they show how caterpillars turn into butterflies. He's smart. Too smart sometimes. Asks questions I don't know how to answer. A sad smile touched her lips. Like why his dad left before he was born. Or why we never have enough money for new shoes. And Alessia? He loved her. Called her his big sister. When she left, Mara's voice cracked. When she left, he cried for a week. Asked me every day when Emma was coming back. I couldn't tell him the truth, that Emma didn't exist. That the girl he loved was dead. Damien's jaw tightened. How did you find out? I saw her face on the news. Alessia Moretti, daughter of notorious crime boss, killed in tragic accident. I threw up. Then I locked myself in the bathroom and sobbed until I couldn't breathe. Mara wiped her eyes. Leo still doesn't know. He thinks Emma moved away for a job. You were protecting him. I was protecting both of us. If people knew we'd harbored your daughter, that we had her diary, she shook her head. We'd have been dead within a day. Damien's phone buzzed. He answered immediately. Talk to me. Mara couldn't hear the response, but she saw his expression darken. How many? A pause. Handle it. Quietly. And get the boy out.
Now.
He hung up and turned to Mara. There are 2 men watching your neighbor's apartment from a car across the street. Professional surveillance. My team is moving in. Mara's heart hammered. Is Leo?
He's fine.
Still asleep. But we need to move fast. Through the rain-blurred window, Mara saw movement. Damien's men emerged from the building, one of them carrying a small bundle wrapped in a blanket.
Lay.
But then headlights flared from across the street. A car door opened. Down. Damien shoved Mara's head below the window line just as gunfire erupted. The sounds were muffled, suppressors but unmistakable. Pop, 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 Mara screamed, trying to sit up, but Damien held her down with one hand while pulling a gun from his jacket with the other. Stay down, he commanded. The gunfire stopped. Silence, except for the rain and Mara's ragged breathing. Damien's phone rang. He answered, listened, then exhaled slowly. It's over, he said. Your son is safe. Mara scrambled up, peering through the window. One of Damien's men was jogging toward their SUV, Leo still sleeping peacefully in his arms, somehow undisturbed by the chaos. The back door opened, and the man carefully handed Leo to Mara. She clutched her son to her chest, tears streaming down her face, checking him frantically for injuries. He's fine, ma'am, the guard said. Never woke up. Whatever your neighbor gave him. Mrs. Chen always makes him warm milk with honey when he can't sleep, Mara whispered, stroking Leo's hair. He's a heavy sleeper anyway. Lucky kid, the guard looked at Damien. The surveillance team? Eliminated? No choice, boss. They fired first. Damien nodded. Clean it up. Make it look like a gang shooting. And find out who sent them. As the guard left, Mara finally looked at Damien. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Those men weren't random thugs. They were professionals. Someone with serious resources is after that diary. He leaned forward. We need to go.
Now.
Your apartment isn't safe. This neighborhood isn't safe. Go where? Somewhere I control. Somewhere I can protect you both while we figure out who's behind this. Mara held Leo tighter. Your mansion? That's where Alessia died. Not in the mansion. Near it, his voice was firm. I have a safe house. Secure, off the books. No one in my organization knows about it except my most trusted men. And how do I know one of them isn't the killer? You don't, Damien admitted. But right now, I'm the only thing standing between your son and a bullet. So you can trust me, or you can take your chances alone. Mara looked down at Leo's peaceful face. So innocent. So unaware of the danger swirling around them. She thought about their apartment, the leaking ceiling, the broken heater, the eviction notice she'd hidden in her underwear drawer. She thought about the life she'd built from nothing, the dignity she'd clung to despite the poverty. All of it meant nothing if Leo was dead. Okay, she whispered. We'll go with you. But I want your word, that Leo stays safe no matter what. Damien extended his hand. You have it. She shook his hand, feeling the calluses on his palm. A killer's hand. A father's hand. There's one more thing, she said quietly. Before we go to your safe house, I need to get the diary. It's hidden in our apartment. Damien's eyes sharpened. Where? Inside Leo's old toy box. Stuffed inside a teddy bear's stomach. Alessia sewed it in there herself. Smart girl. Pride flickered across his face before the mask returned. We'll get it. But we're doing this my way. Fast and careful. The SUV pulled up to Mara's building. She saw more of Damien's men stationed at the exits, on the roof, in the alley. 5 minutes, Damien said. In and out. Get the diary, and anything else you can't leave behind. Understood? Mara nodded, shifting Leo in her arms. Leave him with me, Damien said. You'll move faster alone. Every instinct screamed at her to refuse. But he was right. Carefully, she transferred Leo to Damien's arms. The sight of the infamous Mafia boss cradling her sleeping son was surreal, this dangerous man holding the most precious thing in her world. 5 minutes, she repeated, and ran into the building. Morning light filtered through the grimy windows of Mario's diner. Mara sat in the same booth from the night before, Leo coloring quietly beside her with crayons Betty had scrounged up from somewhere. The diary, a leather-bound journal with Alessia's initials embossed on the cover, sat in Mara's lap, hidden beneath the table. She hadn't slept. Neither had Damien, judging by the tension in his shoulders as he sat across from her, nursing his fourth cup of coffee. He seems calm, Damien observed, watching Leo color a T-Rex purple. He thinks we're on an adventure. I told him we're staying with a friend for a few days. Mara's voice was hollow. I'm running out of lies to tell him. Sometimes lies protect people. Is that what you tell yourself? Damien's eyes flickered. Every single day. Before Mara could respond, Leo looked up at Damien with curious eyes. Are you my mom's friend? Something like that, Damien said carefully. You dress fancy. Are you rich? Leo, Mara warned. It's fine, Damien almost smiled. Yes, I have money.
Cool.
Maybe you can help my mom pay rent. She cries about it sometimes when she thinks I'm asleep. Leo returned to his coloring, oblivious to the way his words had landed. Mara's face burned with humiliation. Leo, that's not. Your mother is very strong, Damien interrupted, his voice gentle. Stronger than most people I know. You're lucky to have her. Leo beamed. I know. She's the best. The moment was broken by the arrival of one of Damien's men, a younger one Mara hadn't seen before, with nervous energy radiating off him. Boss, we need to talk. Private. Damien's expression hardened. Outside. He left without another word. Through the window, Mara watched him listen to the young man's report, his face growing darker with each passing second. Then he pulled out his phone, made a call, and his entire body went rigid. When he returned to the booth, his eyes were ice. We have a problem, he said quietly, sliding back into his seat. Words out. Someone leaked that I'm protecting a woman with information about Alessia's death. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. Half my organization is demanding I bring you in for questioning. The other half thinks you're a threat that needs to be eliminated. Mara's blood ran cold. What does that mean? It means we're running out of time. If my people are fractured over this, whoever killed Alessia is using it to destabilize my control. He leaned forward. I need to know what's in that diary.
Now.
Not tonight. Not in a few hours. Right now. I told you, not until Leo is completely safe. He won't be safe until I know who I'm fighting. Damien's voice rose, then caught himself, glancing at Leo. The boy was still coloring unbothered. You want my protection? Then stop playing games and tell me what I need to know. Mara's hands trembled. She'd known this moment would come, but knowing didn't make it easier. Slowly, she pulled the diary from beneath the table and set it between them. Alessia started keeping this the day she arrived at my apartment. She wrote everything, her fears, her memories, the reason she ran. Mara's voice dropped to a whisper. And the name of the person who wanted her dead. Damien reached for it, but Mara's hand shot out, stopping him. Before you read this, you need to understand something. Once you know the truth, there's no going back.
People will die.
Maybe people you love. Everyone I love is already dead, Damien said flatly. Except her memory. And I will burn this entire city to the ground before I let her killer walk free. Mara released the diary. Damien opened it to the first page. Alessia's handwriting, young, looping, desperate, filled the lines. Day 1, I made it out. I don't know how long I can hide, but I'm alive. That's something. The woman who runs the shelter, Mara, seems kind. She doesn't ask questions. I wish I could tell her everything, but I can't. If Uncle Marco finds out where I am, he'll kill me. And then he'll kill anyone who helped me. Damien's hands froze on the page. Marco? Your brother, Mara confirmed. Keep reading. He flipped through the pages, his face growing paler with each entry. Mara knew what he was reading. She'd memorized parts of it during the long, sleepless nights after Alessia's death. Day 47. I still have nightmares about the basement. The red door. Uncle Marco standing over that man, the gun in his hand. He saw me. I know he saw me. When I ran, he called my name. Not angry, worse. He sounded sad. Like he was already mourning me. Day 89. I miss Dad. I know he probably thinks I'm dead, or that I hate him. I don't hate him. I just don't know if he'd believe me over Uncle Marco. They're brothers.
Blood.
And I'm just. Day 143. Mara let me stay even though she can barely afford food for Leo. She works 2 jobs and never complains. She's stronger than anyone in my family. Sometimes I think about telling her the truth, but I can't put her in danger. Uncle Marco has people everywhere. Damien's voice came out strangled. He killed someone. Marco killed someone, and Alessia witnessed it.
Not just someone, Mara said.
Turn to the entry from day 198. She finally wrote down the whole story. His hands shook as he found the page. Day 198. I need to write this down. If something happens to me, someone needs to know. The man Uncle Marco killed was Vincent Rossi, Dad's oldest friend, his consigliere. I was in the mansion, sneaking down to the kitchen for a snack. I heard voices in the basement. Uncle Marco's voice, angry. Then Mr. Rossi, pleading. He said something about the books and evidence and the feds, then a gunshot. I ran to the basement door, looked through the crack, saw Mr. Rossi on the floor, bleeding. Uncle Marco was standing over him with a gun. He looked up and saw me. Our eyes met. And I knew if I stayed, I'd be next. Mr. Rossi must have found proof that Uncle Marco was embezzling from the family, skimming money, making deals behind Dad's back. Uncle Marco couldn't let that evidence reach Dad. So he killed him. Damien slammed the diary shut, his breathing ragged. Vincent. Marco killed Vincent. Alessia wrote that Vincent was like an uncle to her. She loved him. Mara's eyes filled with tears. She couldn't process it. She ran that same night, took cash from your safe, and disappeared. And Marco let everyone believe she was kidnapped or dead. He looked me in the eye at her funeral and cried. Damien's voice was pure venom. My own brother. There's more, Mara said quietly. Toward the end of the diary. After she went back to you. Damien opened the diary again, near the back. His face drained of all color as he read Alessia's final entries. Day 421, I'm home. Dad was so happy to see me, he cried. But Uncle Marco looked at me differently. Like he was calculating something. I need to be careful. Stay close to Dad. Never be alone with Marco. Day 456. Uncle Marco cornered me today. Asked where I'd been. I lied, said I was with friends in California. He smiled and said, I'm glad you're safe, but his eyes were cold. He knows I saw something. He's waiting for the right moment. Day 487. My car has been acting strange. The brakes feel soft. I mentioned it to Dad, but Uncle Marco said he'd have the mechanic look at it. I don't trust him. I don't trust anyone except Dad. But how do I tell him his own brother is a murderer? The final entry was dated 3 days before Alessia's death. Day 490. If you're reading this, I'm probably dead. Uncle Marco is going to kill me. I know it. I can feel it. I was stupid to come back, but Mara needed help and I couldn't let Leo suffer. If something happens, please protect them. And tell Dad I'm sorry. I should have been braver. I should have told him the truth. Damien closed the diary with shaking hands. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he stood abruptly, walked to the diner's bathroom, and Mara heard the sound of something hitting the wall. Hard. When he returned, his knuckles were bleeding. The car accident, he said, his voice dead. The brake line was cut. The police said it was vandalism, random violence. But it was Marco. He tampered with her brakes and then offered to have it fixed. He killed her. Yes, Mara whispered. My brother murdered my daughter. Yes. Damien pulled out his phone and made a call. Gather everyone. Every lieutenant, every captain, every soldier. I'm calling a family meeting. Tonight. 8 o'clock, he paused. And bring Marco. Tell him it's urgent. He ended the call and looked at Mara with eyes that held nothing but murderous intent. You and Leo are going to the safe house. You're staying there until this is over. What are you going to do? What I should have done 2 years ago, he picked up the diary. I'm going to make my brother confess. And then I'm going to kill him. The safe house was nothing like Mara expected. Not a mansion or a warehouse, but a modest two-story home in a quiet suburban neighborhood where kids played basketball in driveways and neighbors waved to each other. The last place anyone would look for a mafia boss's secrets. But Damien had left her there with two guards, silent, professional men who positioned themselves at the doors, and driven off with the diary, promising to return before nightfall. That was 6 hours ago. Now Mara sat on the couch, watching Leo play with a set of toy cars she'd found in a closet, trying not to imagine what was happening across the city. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Child Services. 445, Grafton Street. Come alone. This is about Alessia Moretti." Mara's stomach dropped. She looked at the guards, then at Leo, her mind racing. "I need to go out," she told the nearest guard. "Boss's orders. You stay here." "This isn't a request. I just got a message from Child Services. They know about Alessia." The guard's expression didn't change. "Call the boss." Mara tried. No answer. Tried again. Voicemail. "Something's wrong," she said, panic rising. "They're meeting with his brother right now. What if Marco made a move? What if?"
Her phone rang.
A different number. She answered. "Miss Collins." A woman's voice, professional but strained. "This is Linda Martinez from Child Protective Services. We received an anonymous tip this morning regarding your care of a minor named Emma Davis, who we've now identified as Alessia Moretti. We have questions. Many questions. I can explain. I hope so, because right now, we're looking at potential charges of harboring a runaway, failure to report, and possible involvement in her death. You need to come in. Immediately." The line went dead. Mara looked at the guard. "I have to go. If I don't, they'll send police. They'll find this place. Is that what Damien wants?" The guard hesitated, then made a call. Spoke in rapid Italian. Hung up. "I'll drive you. The kid stays here with Marco," he nodded to the other guard. 20 minutes later, Mara sat in a sterile conference room at Child Protective Services, facing Linda Martinez, a tired woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a suspicious frown, and two NYPD detectives. "Let's start from the beginning," Detective Reeves said, sliding a folder across the table. "You took in Alessia Moretti, daughter of Damien Moretti, and didn't report her to authorities for 14 months. Why?" "She begged me not to. She was terrified." "Of her father?"
No.
"Of someone in his organization. She wouldn't tell me who." "Convenient," the other detective, Patterson, muttered. Linda leaned forward. "Miss Collins, I've reviewed your file. Single mother, 2 part-time jobs, eviction notices, utility shutoffs. Then suddenly, during the same 14 months Alessia lived with you, your financial situation stabilized. Rent paid on time. Utilities current. Even some savings." Mara's face flushed. "Alessia insisted on contributing. She had money." "Money from where?" Reeves pressed. "I don't know. She just had it.
Cash.
Did it occur to you this was stolen? That you were benefiting from a crime?" "I was helping a scared girl." Patterson slapped a photograph on the table. "Alessia's autopsy photo. And 3 months after she returned home, she's dead. Brake line failure. Tell me, Miss Collins, did she ever mention anyone who might want to hurt her?" Mara's hands clenched under the table. The diary was with Damien. Without it, she had no proof of Marco's guilt. If she accused him now, without evidence, she'd be signing her own death warrant. "She mentioned being afraid," Mara said carefully, "but never gave names." "You expect us to believe you harbored a mafia princess for over a year and know nothing?" Reeves's voice hardened. "Or maybe you know plenty, and you're protecting someone." "I'm protecting my son." Silence fell over the room. Linda's expression softened slightly. "Miss Collins, we're not trying to hurt you. But we received an anonymous call this morning with very specific information. Someone said you're in possession of evidence related to Alessia's death. A diary." Mara's blood turned to ice. "Who called?" "Anonymous means anonymous." "But they knew about the diary." Mara's mind raced. "Only 3 people knew about it. Her, Damien, and whoever had been watching her apartment. When did you get the call? Around noon.
Why?
Noon. Hours after Damien left with the diary. Someone in his organization had leaked it. I want to make a deal, Mara said suddenly. You're not in a position to make deals, Patterson said. I am if I have information about who killed Alessia Moretti. She looked directly at Linda. But I need protection. Real protection. Witness protection for me and my son. And I need it before tonight. The detectives exchanged glances. What happens tonight? Reeves asked. Damien Moretti is confronting his brother Marco with evidence that Marco killed Alessia. If I'm right, it's going to get bloody. And Marco knows I have proof, which means once Damien moves against him, Marco's people will come for me. Why would Marco's people come for you if Damien has the evidence? Because I'm the witness. I can testify to what Alessia wrote, what she told me. Marco can't risk me staying alive. Linda stood abruptly. Wait here. She left with the detectives. Through the door, Mara heard urgent, hushed conversation. Phone calls. More voices. 15 minutes later, they returned with a man in a dark suit, FBI. Miss Collins, I'm Agent Howard Chin. You're going to tell me everything you know about the Moretti organization. And in exchange, we'll discuss protection. No discussion, Mara said firmly. Guarantee my son's safety first, or I don't say a word. Agent Chin studied her for a long moment, then nodded. We can arrange temporary protective custody for your son, but you'll need to cooperate fully. Starting now. Mara took a breath. Alessia Moretti kept a detailed diary during the time she stayed with me. In it, she describes witnessing Marco Moretti murder Vincent Rossi, Damien's consigliere, in the basement of the family mansion 2 years ago. Vincent had discovered Marco was embezzling from the family. Marco killed him to keep him quiet, and then murdered Alessia when she came home because she was a witness. The room erupted. Where's this diary now? Chun demanded. Damien Moretti has it. He's using it to confront Marco tonight at a family meeting. Jesus Christ, Chun pulled out his phone. We need to move.
Now.
If Damien kills Marco based on that diary, we lose our chance at a legitimate prosecution. And if Marco gets wind of this first, then Damien's dead, Mara finished. And so am I. Chun made rapid calls. Within minutes, the room filled with federal agents, police officers, and prosecutors. Plans formed quickly, too quickly for Mara to follow all of them. We're raiding the meeting location, Chun explained. We'll secure the diary as evidence and take both Moretti brothers into custody before this turns into a bloodbath. What about my son? Already being transferred to a secure location. You'll join him after we take your formal statement.
No Mara stood.
I'm coming with you. If something goes wrong, if Damien needs someone to verify what's in that diary. Absolutely not. I'm the only one besides Damien who's read it cover to cover. I can corroborate every detail. You need me. Chun looked like he wanted to argue, but another agent whispered something in his ear. He cursed under his breath.
Fine.
But you stay in the van. You don't move unless I say so. Understood? Mara nodded, though she had no intention of keeping that promise. As they geared up to leave, she pulled out her phone and tried Damien one more time. Still no answer. A bad feeling settled in her gut. The kind of feeling that said she was already too late. The FBI van stopped 3 blocks from the Moretti mansion. Through the tinted windows, Mara could see the estate's iron gates, the manicured grounds, the imposing stone structure where Alessia had grown up, where she'd died. Agent Chen pressed a finger to his earpiece, listening to reports from the surveillance team. Meetings already started. 15 men inside, plus Damien and Marco. No visible weapons, but we have to assume everyone's armed. What's the plan? Another agent asked. We wait for my signal, then we breach. Priority is securing the diary and separating the brothers before. Chin stopped, his face darkening. Say that again. Mara's pulse quickened. What's wrong? Chun ignored her, barking orders into his radio. All units, hold position. We have a situation. What situation? Mara demanded. He finally looked at her. Marco didn't show up to the meeting. He sent his second-in-command with a message for Damien. Mara's blood ran cold. Marco knows. We don't know that. He knows about the diary, and he knows Damien is coming for him. That's why he didn't show. He's running, or worse. She grabbed Chen's arm. Where's my son? You said he was in protective custody.
He is.
Secure location, guarded. Mara's phone rang. Unknown number. Her hands shook as she answered. Hello, Mara. Marco's voice was smooth, cultured, nothing like the monster from Alessia's diary. I apologize for the dramatic introduction. I assume you're with the FBI by now? Listening to Agent Chen plan his heroic raid, Chen's eyes widened. He made frantic gestures to his team. Where's my son? Mara's voice cracked. Safe.
For now.
Your FBI friends moved him to a very predictable safe house, apartment building on 52nd, 3rd floor. 2 agents at the door. I have 12 men in position. If I give the word, those agents die and Leo disappears.
Permanently.
You son of a... I'm not a monster, Mara. I'm a businessman. And right now, we need to make a deal. His voice hardened. My niece wrote things in that diary. Lies, exaggerations, the fantasies of a troubled teenage girl. But my brother believes them. Worse, you believe them. And now the FBI is involved. They're not lies. You killed Vincent Rossi. You killed Alessia. I did what was necessary to protect this family. The cultured mask slipped, revealing rage beneath. Vincent was going to destroy everything my father built. Hand evidence to the feds that would have put us all in prison. And Alessia, his voice broke slightly. She was collateral damage. I never wanted to hurt her, but she wouldn't let it go. She came back, and I could see it in her eyes. She was going to tell Damien eventually. I couldn't allow that. Chen was frantically typing on a laptop, trying to trace the call. So you cut her brake line, Mara said, keeping him talking. Made it look like an accident.
Clean.
Painless. She didn't suffer, Marco sighed. But then you had to keep her diary. Had to stick your nose where it didn't belong. Now everything's falling apart. Good. You deserve to rot in prison. Perhaps. But Leo doesn't deserve to die. So here's my offer. Bring me the diary. Alone. No FBI, no police, no Damien.
Just you.
We make an exchange. The diary for your son. How do I know you'll keep your word? You don't. But what choice do you have? The FBI can't move on my men without risking Leo's life. Damien doesn't even know where your son is. I'm the only one who can guarantee his safety. He paused. You have 30 minutes. There's an old textile factory on Riverside, near the docks. Come alone, bring the diary, and this ends peacefully. I don't have the diary. Damien does. Then I suggest you get it from him.
Quickly.
29 minutes, Mar. The line went dead. Chun swore viciously. We couldn't trace it. He's using burner phones, probably switching locations. He has my son. Mara's voice was hollow. He has Leo, and he wants the diary. We're not negotiating with. I'm not asking permission. Mara grabbed the van door handle. I need that diary, and I need it now. Chun blocked her. Listen to me. If you walk into that factory, Marco will kill you both. That's how this works. He can't leave witnesses. Then what do you suggest? Storm the safe house and hope your people are faster than his? Hope he doesn't have someone inside with Leo right now with a gun to his head. The van went silent. I can get the diary from Damien, Mara continued, forcing herself to think clearly despite the panic clawing at her chest. But I need leverage. Something to trade with Marco. That's not just my life. Like what? Like evidence that destroys his credibility within the organization. Proof he's been skimming money, making unauthorized deals, lying to the family. Alessia wrote it all down. Every transaction she'd overheard. Every suspicious conversation. It's all in that diary. Mara's eyes blazed. If I give Marco the diary, he burns it and we have nothing. But if I give him copies of specific pages, the parts about Vincent's murder, while the FBI keeps the rest.
Chun caught on.
We still have evidence of his embezzling. We can prosecute him for financial crimes even if we can't prove the murders. And Damien gets ammunition to turn the family against Marco. He's been stealing from them for years. They'll tear him apart themselves. Another agent spoke up. It's risky. Marco could still kill her and the kid. He could, Mara agreed. But if he knows the FBI has evidence of his financial crimes, and that Damien has already seen it, killing me doesn't help him. His only play is to run. Take whatever money he's hidden and disappear before the family and the FBI close in. Chun considered this, then made a decision.
We need that diary. Now.
10 minutes later, they crashed into the Moretti mansion through the front door. Damien stood in the center of an ornate library, surrounded by 15 of his men, the diary open on the table before him. He looked up as federal agents flooded in, weapons drawn, and his expression didn't change. Agent Chun, he said calmly, I wondered when you'd arrive. Damien Moretti, step away from the evidence. This isn't evidence. It's my daughter's last words. And I'm not finished reading them. His eyes found Mara behind the agents. How did they know?
Anonymous tip, Mara said.
Marco knows about the diary. He has my son. He wants the diary in exchange. Something dangerous flickered in Damien's eyes. Marco has Leo. Yes. Where? Old textile factory on Riverside. 20 minutes. Damien closed the diary and picked it up, but Chen stepped forward. That's evidence in a federal investigation. You can't. My brother murdered my daughter. Damien's voice was soft, deadly. He murdered Vincent. He's been stealing from my family for years, and now he's kidnapped a child. So here's what's going to happen, Agent Chen. You're going to let me walk out of here with this diary. I'm going to that factory. And I'm going to end this. I can't let you. Damien's men raised their weapons, pointing them at the agents. The agents pointed back. Stand off. Nobody needs to die today, Damien continued. Except Marco. Let me handle my family's business, and I'll hand you whatever evidence you need to prosecute him. You'll get your case. I'll get justice. Everyone wins. Except Leo dies if we waste any more time. Mara shouted.
Please.
Both of you. We're running out of time. Chen's jaw clenched. Then he lowered his weapon. Stand down, he told his team. They reluctantly complied. Damien nodded and walked toward the door, but Mara stepped in front of him. I'm coming with you. No. He's my son.
And you need me.
Marco won't trust you alone. But if I'm there, if I'm the one handing over the diary, she met his eyes. Let me do this. For a long moment, Damien studied her face. Then he handed her the diary. We do this together, he said quietly. For Alessia. For Leo. Together, Mara agreed. They walked out side by side, into the coming darkness. The Moretti mansion's war room felt like a tomb. Damien sat at the head of a long mahogany table, his lieutenants arranged on either side like chess pieces. The diary lay closed in front of him, a time bomb wrapped in leather. Mara stood by the window with Agent Chen watching, listening. They'd agreed, before going to Marco, they needed to understand the fractures within the family. Know who might stand with Marco when the truth came out. Where the hell is Marco? Demanded Sal Greco, Damien's oldest lieutenant. He was a brick wall of a man, loyal for 30 years. You call an emergency meeting and he doesn't show. Marco sent word, said Tony Bianchi, Marco's second in command. Young, ambitious, hungry. Said he had urgent business. He'll join when he can. Urgent business? Sal slammed his fist on the table. The boss calls, you come. That's the rule. Maybe Marco has good reason to stay away, Tony countered, his eyes sliding to Damien. There are rumors, boss. Ugly rumors about why you really called this meeting. The room went deathly quiet. Say it, Damien commanded, his voice ice. Whatever poison Marco's been spreading, say it to my face. Tony hesitated, then pushed forward. People are saying you've gone soft since Alessia died. That you're obsessed with finding someone to blame instead of running the business. That you're meeting with outsiders. His eyes flickered to Mara, making decisions without consulting the family. And what do you think, Tony? I think, Tony chose his words carefully, I think grief makes men unpredictable, dangerous. And I think the family needs stability right now, not a witch hunt. A witch hunt, Damien's laugh was bitter. Is that what Marco called it? Marco's worried about you. We all are. Liar, the word came from Sal. You're worried about your own skin. We all see it, Tony. The way you've been positioning yourself, taking meetings Marco should handle, making promises about the future, he turned to Damien. Boss, I've heard whispers. Some of the younger guys think Marco should take over. That you're compromised. The room erupted in shouting. Accusations flew. Loyalties divided before Mara's eyes. Damien let it continue for exactly 10 seconds. Then he stood, and silence crashed down like a guillotine. Vincent Rossi was my friend, Damien said quietly. My father's friend. He built this organization alongside us. 2 years ago, he disappeared. We searched for months. Found nothing. I mourned him as a brother. He opened the diary and pulled out a photograph tucked inside. Alessia had taped it to one of the pages. It showed Vincent, smiling at a family gathering, with Alessia on his shoulders. My daughter loved him. Called him Uncle Vinny. Damien's voice cracked slightly. She witnessed his murder. In the basement of my own home. And the killer was family. The room exploded again, but Damien spoke over them. Marco killed Vincent because Vincent discovered he was embezzling. Hundreds of thousands over 5 years, skimmed from our operations. Vincent was going to bring proof to me. Marco shot him to keep him quiet. That's insane, Tony said, but his voice lacked conviction. Is it? Sal, remember when the construction deal fell through 3 years ago? We lost $2 million on that contract. Marco handled that deal, Sal said slowly. Said it was bad luck. It wasn't luck. Marco sabotaged it, pocketed the money, and blamed it on the contractor. Damien flipped through the diary, reading Alessia's notes. She overheard him on the phone, bragging to someone about it. She didn't understand what it meant at the time, but she wrote it down. He slid the diary across the table to Sal, open to a specific page. The old lieutenant read, his face darkening. There's more, Damien continued. The shipment that went missing in Jersey. The warehouse fire in Brooklyn. The restaurant protection payments that mysteriously stopped coming in. All Marco. All documented by my daughter before she even knew what she was documenting. Boss, another lieutenant, Frank DeLuca, spoke up. Even if this is true, where's Marco now? Why isn't he here to defend himself? Because he knows I've seen the evidence. He knows I'm coming for him. Damien's eyes swept the room. And he's gambling that enough of you doubt me, that enough of you think I'm unstable, that he can split this family and take control of half of it. Or, Tony said, standing slowly, he's staying away because he knows this is a setup. Maybe that diary is fake. Maybe you had it made to justify killing your own brother. Damien moved so fast that Tony didn't have time to react. One moment Damien was across the table, the next he had Tony by the throat, slamming him against the wall. My daughter is dead, Damien hissed. You think I'd fabricate evidence about her murder? You think I'd use her memory like that? Boss. Sal pulled Damien back. He's not worth it. Damien released Tony, who collapsed, gasping. But the damage was done. The room had split. Some men moved closer to Damien. Others stepped back, hands drifting toward concealed weapons. I need to know, Damien said, his voice carrying to every corner. I need to know who stands with me. Because in 1 hour, I'm going to confront Marco. I'm going to make him confess. And then I'm going to kill him. If you're with me, stay. If you're not, he gestured to the door. Leave now.
No judgment, no repercussions.
But choose. Nobody moved. Then Frank stood and walked to Damien's side. I'm with you, boss. Always. Sal joined him. Marco was always too ambitious. I should have seen it. One by one, the older lieutenants stood with Damien. But Tony remained seated, along with 3 younger men. You're making a mistake, Tony said. Marco's been good to this family. Better than you know. And when this is over, when you've killed your own brother over lies in a dead girl's diary, you'll have torn this organization apart. Get out, Damien said quietly. Tony left, his 3 allies following. The moment they were gone, Sal spoke. They'll warn Marco. I know. I'm counting on it. Agent Chen stepped forward. What are you planning? Marco thinks he's splitting my family. He thinks I'm isolated, vulnerable. So, I'm going to let him believe that. Damien pulled out his phone. I'm going to call him. Tell him I want to meet just the 2 of us. Brother to brother. To talk. He'll know it's a trap, Mara said.
Yes.
But his ego won't let him refuse. He'll come to prove he's not afraid, that he still has power. And he'll bring his people, Tony and anyone else he's turned. Damien's smile was predatory. He wants a war? I'll give him one. On my terms. What about Leo? Mara's voice rose. Marco said, he has people at the safe house. If you move against him. Which is why you're not going to the textile factory, Damien interrupted. Agent Chen is going to raid that safe house right now, extract Leo, and get him somewhere Marco can't reach. Chen nodded. Already mobilizing. No, Mara said. Marco will know. He'll have people watching. If the FBI shows up. Then I'll go, Damien said. Not as a mafia boss. As a concerned citizen reporting suspicious activity. Marco's men won't recognize me in plain clothes, and by the time they realize what's happening, Leo will be gone. You do that. Mara's voice was barely a whisper. Risk exposing yourself. Damien picked up the photograph of Alessia and Vincent. I failed my daughter. I won't fail your son.
Sal leaned in.
Boss, if you're going for the kid who's confronting Marco. Damien looked at his remaining lieutenants. You are. All of you. You're going to the meeting location, that textile factory Marco chose. You're going to surround it. And when Marco arrives expecting to find Mara alone, you're going to arrest him. Citizen's arrest. Hold him until I get there. And, if he fights, then you do what's necessary. Damien's eyes were cold. But I want him alive. I want to look him in the eye when I tell him I know what he did. I want him to understand that he destroyed this family for nothing. Frank spoke up. What about the FBI? They'll want Marco for prosecution. They can have what's left when I'm done. Agent Chen stepped forward. Damien, if you kill him, you'll go to prison. We can't protect you from murder charges. I'm already going to prison eventually, Agent Chen. We both know that. But first, I'm going to get justice for my daughter. Then you can have me. Mara watched this man, this criminal, this father, sacrifice everything for the truth. For Alessia. For Leo. I'm coming with you, she said. To get Leo. You'll need someone he trusts when he wakes up scared. Damien studied her, then nodded.
Get ready.
We leave in 5 minutes. As the room emptied, Sal pulled Damien aside. Boss, Tony will tell Marco everything. He'll know we're coming. Good, Damien said. Let him know. Let him sweat. Let him realize that everything he's built, every lie he's told, is crumbling. Fear is its own punishment. And if he runs, Damien's smile was sharp as a knife. Then I'll hunt him to the ends of the earth. There's nowhere Marco can hide that I won't find him. Mara overheard and felt a chill. This was the man Alessia had feared and loved in equal measure. Capable of terrible violence, but driven by an even more terrible love. Let's go get my son, she said. Damien nodded, already moving toward the door. Behind them, the war room emptied, each man preparing for the battle to come. The family was fracturing, and somewhere in the city, Marco was making his own preparations. The safe house on 52nd Street looked ordinary, a beige apartment building with a broken intercom and graffiti on the entrance. Exactly the kind of place that blended into the city's background noise. Damien parked 2 blocks away, wearing a baseball cap and a plain jacket Mara had never seen him in. Without the expensive suit, he looked almost normal. Almost. 2 agents at the door, he murmured, studying the building through the windshield. But I don't see Marco's surveillance. They're there, Mara said, her stomach churning. Marco wouldn't bluff. Then we make this fast. Damien pulled out a phone, not his usual one, something cheap and disposable. I'm calling in a noise complaint from a neighbor. When the agents check it out, we go in through the back service entrance. And if Marco's men stop us. His hand moved to his jacket, where Mara knew a gun was concealed. They won't. 5 minutes later, they crouched in the service stairwell while the FBI agents investigated a non-existent domestic disturbance 3 floors up. The apartment was on the 3rd floor, Unit 3B. Damien picked the lock in seconds. Inside, the apartment was sparse, government-issued furniture, bare walls, no personality. And on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, was Leo. Mara's heart nearly burst. She rushed forward, but Damien caught her arm. "Check him first," he whispered. She knelt beside her son, hands shaking as she examined him. Breathing normal. Color good. But he wouldn't wake up. He's been drugged, she realized, panic flooding her system. Oh God, they drugged him. Probably just a sedative. To keep him quiet during transport, Damien was already checking the windows, the closets, every corner. "We need to move."
Now.
Mara scooped Leo into her arms. He was getting so big, almost too heavy to carry, but adrenaline made her strong. They moved toward the door. And it burst open. Not FBI agents. 3 men in dark clothes, guns already drawn. Damien fired first. The sound was deafening in the small space. The lead man went down, then the second. The third got a shot off that splintered the doorframe inches from Mara's head before Damien put 2 bullets in his chest. "Go!" Damien shoved her toward the back window. "Fire escape. I can't carry him down." "You can, and you will. Move." Mara climbed through the window onto the rusted fire escape, Leo's dead weight nearly pulling her over the railing. Behind her, she heard more gunfire, shouting, footsteps pounding up the stairs. She half climbed, half fell down the ladder, her arms screaming, her breath coming in gasps. 2 floors. 1 floor. The ladder to the alley stuck, rusted in place. "Drop him." She looked down. Damien stood in the alley below, arms outstretched. "I'll catch him. Trust me." She didn't have a choice. She lowered Leo as far as she could, then let go. Damien caught him, stumbling slightly, but staying upright. Mara jumped the rest of the way, hitting the pavement hard enough to send pain shooting through her ankles. "Cars this way." "FBI. Don't move." Agent Chun appeared at the alley's entrance, a dozen agents behind him, weapons trained on Damien. "Put the child down and step away," Chun commanded. "Can't do that," Damien said, still holding Leo. "Marco's men just tried to kill us. More might be coming. We heard gunshots. You killed 3 men. 3 men who were about to execute a federal witness and her child." Damien's voice was steel. "Check their IDs. You'll find they're on Marco's payroll." Chun hesitated, then gestured to 2 agents. They entered the building while everyone else maintained the standoff. Mara moved to Damien's side. "Give me Leo. Please." He carefully transferred the sleeping boy to her arms. The weight of her son, alive, breathing, made her knees weak with relief. The agents emerged from the building. 3 dead men, boss. Confirmed Moretti Associates. And the FBI agents we posted. They're dead too. Throats cut. Bodies in the stairwell. Chen's face went white. "Marco killed federal agents. To get to my son," Mara said, her voice breaking. "He was never going to trade. He was going to kill Leo and me both, eliminate the witnesses, and let you all think it was Damien." Chen looked between them, making calculations. Finally, he lowered his weapon. "We need to move. All of us. Marco knows his men failed, which means he knows we have the kid. He'll be running scared, making desperate moves." Chen pulled out his phone. "I'm calling in SWAT, the whole task force. We end this tonight." "No," Damien stepped forward. "Your people storm in with that much firepower. Marco disappears. He's got escape routes, safe houses, resources you don't know about. By morning, he'll be in Argentina or Monaco, and you'll never touch him. What's your alternative?" "Let me draw him out. He still thinks he can win. He still thinks he can turn enough of the family against me, still thinks he can paint me as the villain." Damien's eyes burned. "So, I give him what he wants. I send word that I'm coming to the textile factory. Alone. Unarmed. To talk.
That's suicide, Mara said.
It's fate. Marco won't be able to resist. His ego won't let him. He'll come to gloat, to prove he's smarter than me. And when he does, Damien looked at Chen. Your people will be in position. You'll have him on attempted kidnapping, murder of federal agents, conspiracy. Enough to put him away forever. And if he just shoots you on sight? Damien smiled coldly. I'm harder to kill than he thinks. Chen considered, then nodded slowly. We'll need time to position teams, set up surveillance. You have 2 hours. That's when I'm going, and Damien turned to Mara. You and Leo go with Chen. Somewhere safe. Somewhere Marco can't reach. What about the diary? Damien pulled it from his jacket. Give it to Chen. Let the FBI use it. I don't need it anymore. I know the truth. Mara took the diary, then impulsively grabbed Damien's hand. Don't die for this. Alessia wouldn't want. Alessia wanted her father to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. She wanted me to be better than the life I chose. His voice softened. Maybe I can't be better, but for one night I can try. He pulled away and walked toward his car. Damien, Mara called.
He stopped.
Thank you. For saving Leo. For believing me. He looked back, and for a moment, the hardened criminal fell away, leaving only the grieving father. I'm sorry I couldn't save her, he said quietly. But I can save you. And I will. Then he was gone, driving into the night. Chin put a hand on Mara's shoulder. Come on. Let's get your son somewhere safe. As they loaded into a federal vehicle, Mara looked down at Leo's peaceful, drugged face. So innocent. So unaware of how close he'd come to death. It's over, baby, she whispered. It's almost over. But as they drove away, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You took my bait. Your son was never at that safe house. That was a decoy. Want to know where Leo really is? Come to the factory. Alone. Or I'll mail him back to you in pieces. Mara's blood turned to ice. She looked at the boy in her arms. The peaceful face, the steady breathing, the familiar weight, and realized with horror that she'd never checked his birthmark. The small star-shaped mark on his left ankle that he'd had since birth. With trembling hands, she pulled back the blanket, lifted his pant leg.
No birthmark.
This wasn't Leo. Stop the car, she said, her voice barely a whisper. What? Chen asked. Stop the car. She was screaming now, clutching the fake child. This isn't my son. This isn't Leo. Marco tricked us. He has my real son, and this is. The boy's eyes opened. Not Leo's warm brown eyes. Blue eyes.
Cold.
Adult. She figured it out. The boy said in a man's voice. Gravelly.
Wrong.
A dwarf. Marco had used a dwarf. The fake Leo pulled a knife from inside the blanket and lunged for Mara's throat. Mara threw herself backward as the knife slashed the air where her throat had been. Agent Chen grabbed the man's wrist, slamming it against the seat until the blade clattered to the floor. Secure him, Chen shouted. 2 agents wrestled the dwarf into handcuffs while Mara hyperventilated in the corner, her mind fracturing. Not Leo. The boy she'd held wasn't Leo. Her real son was still out there. Still in Marco's hands. Where is he? Chen demanded, pressing his gun to the man's temple. Where's the real boy? The dwarf just smiled. Blood trickled from his split lip. You'll never find him in time. Mara lunged forward, grabbing him by the collar. Tell me where my son is, or I swear to God. Mrs. Collins. Chen tried to pull her back.
No.
She shook the man violently. You tell me right now. Marco said you'd break easy, the dwarf laughed. He was right. The kid's probably already dead. Marco doesn't leave loose ends. Something inside Mara snapped. She grabbed the fallen knife and pressed it to the man's throat. Last chance. Mara, don't, Chen warned. He has my son. And if you kill him, we lose our only lead. The words penetrated the red haze of her rage. Slowly, she lowered the knife, her whole body shaking.
Chen pulled out his phone.
Get me SWAT at the textile factory.
Now.
And find out if Damien Moretti's already there. He stopped listening. What do you mean you lost him? Mara's heart sank. Chun hung up, his face grim. Damien disabled his tracker. He's gone dark. And, according to our surveillance, Marco just arrived at the textile factory with 12 armed men. Then we go in, Mara said. Storm the place, get Leo. If we breach, Marco kills the hostage first. That's protocol for these people. Chen's voice was clinical, detached. We need to be smart. Smart? Mara's voice cracked. My 8-year-old son is with a murderer. There is no smart. There's only...
Her phone rang. Damien.
She answered immediately. Damien. I know about Leo, he interrupted. Marco sent me a video. Your real son is in the factory, tied up in the basement. The same basement where he killed Vincent. Mara's legs gave out. She collapsed against the van wall. Is he hurt? Scared.
Crying.
But alive. Damien's voice was tight with controlled fury. Marco's using him as bait. He knows I can't walk in there without getting shot, and he knows you'll come anyway because you're desperate.
He's right.
I am desperate. Which is why we're going to outsmart him. There was a rustling sound, like Damien was moving. I'm already inside the factory. I came in through the old loading docks 30 minutes ago. Marco doesn't know.
Chun leaned in.
Moretti, this is Agent Chen. If you're inside that building, stand down. We're calling in tactical teams. By the time your teams assemble, Leo will be dead. Marco's paranoid. He's got tripwires, cameras, sentries. He'll see you coming from a mile away. Damien paused. But he won't see Mara. Absolutely not, Chen said. Listen to me. Marco expects Mara to come alone, terrified, ready to trade anything for her son. So that's exactly what she'll do. She walks in the front door, keeps Marco talking, keeps him distracted. Meanwhile, I work my way to the basement, get Leo, and we extract through the loading docks. That's insane, Mara whispered. Marco will kill me the second I walk in. No, he won't. He needs you to tell him where the diary is, the original. He thinks what I have might be a copy. He'll keep you alive to verify. What if you're wrong? Silence on the line. Damien, what if you're wrong? Then I'll kill him before he touches you, his voice dropped. I swear on Alessia's grave, I won't let him hurt you or Leo. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Mara closed her eyes. Trusted a mafia boss. Walked into a trap. Bet her son's life on a man she'd met 24 hours ago. What choice do I have? She whispered. None, Damien said honestly. But I'm the best chance your son has. Agent Chen knows it, even if he won't admit it. Chen's jaw clenched. Then he nodded once, sharply. Fine, Mara said. Tell me what to do. The textile factory loomed against the night sky like a corpse, broken windows, rusted metal, walls covered in graffiti. Mara approached on foot, her hands raised, empty. Floodlights snapped on, blinding her. That's far enough, Marco's voice echoed from somewhere inside. Turn around slowly. Show me you're not armed. She turned, her heart hammering. Good. Now walk forward. Through the main door. Slowly. She walked into the factory's maw. Inside, the space was cavernous. Old machinery covered in dust, hanging chains, shadows upon shadows. And in the center, illuminated by a single work lamp, stood Marco Moretti. He looked nothing like his brother. Smaller, softer, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. The kind of man you'd trust with your secrets. Mara, he said warmly. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry about the dramatics, but I needed to ensure we could talk privately. Where's my son? Safe. I promise you, I haven't hurt him. I'm not a monster. You killed your own niece. The smile faded. I loved Alessia. Her death was unfortunate, but necessary. Surely you understand that sometimes we must sacrifice one to save many. No, Mara said flatly. I don't understand that at all.
Marco Said, duse pointed.
Vincent Rossi was going to destroy my family. Hand decades of evidence to the FBI. My father would have died in prison. Damien arrested. Hundreds of men, their families, all destroyed. So, yes, I killed Vincent. And when Alessia witnessed it, when she ran, he spread his hands. What choice did I have? You could have let her go. She would have stayed hidden. For how long? A year? 5? Eventually, guilt or fear would have driven her to talk. I couldn't risk it, his eyes hardened. Just like I can't risk you. Or your son. Or that diary. The FBI has the diary. Damien gave it to them. I know. But I also know the FBI's evidence procedures. They'll photograph it, process it, but the original will be stored in evidence lockup, which I can reach. I have people inside. He stepped closer. What I need from you is confirmation. Is what's in that diary true? Every word. Why does it matter? You already know what you did. Because I need to know what Damien believes. What the FBI believes. Which lies I need to counter. Which truths I need to bury. His voice turned cold. So, answer the question. Is the diary accurate? Mara's mind raced. Where was Damien? How long did she need to stall? Every word is true, she said. Alessia documented everything. Vincent's murder. You're embezzling. The brake line on her car. She knew you were coming for her. She just didn't know when. Marco's face twisted. She should have kept her mouth shut. Should have forgotten what she saw. I would have let her live. No, you wouldn't have. Because she was good. And you're not. And she would have told the truth eventually, because that's who she was. Goodness is a luxury for people who don't have to make hard choices. Marco pulled out a gun, aiming it at Mara's chest. I've made nothing but hard choices my entire life. One more won't make a difference. Marco, wait.
I am sorry, Mara.
I truly am. You seem like a decent person. Wrong place, wrong time. His finger moved to the trigger. A gunshot cracked through the factory. But it wasn't Marco's gun. Marco stumbled, a red bloom spreading across his shoulder. He spun, firing wildly into the shadows. Marco. Damien's voice boomed from somewhere above. It's over. Marco's men poured in from side rooms, weapons drawn. The factory erupted into chaos, gunfire, shouting, muzzle flashes in the dark. Mara dove behind an old machine as bullets pinged off metal around her. Leo, she screamed.
Lie.
Mom. The voice was faint, terrified, but unmistakably her son's. She followed the sound, crawling through the darkness, through the gunfire and chaos, until she found the stairs to the basement. She ran down, her feet pounding on metal steps, and burst into the cold concrete space with the red door Alessia had described in her diary. And there, tied to a chair, tears streaming down his face, was Leo. Mom. She ran to him, cutting the ropes with shaking hands. I've got you, baby. I've got you. I was so scared. I know. But it's over now. Above them, the gunfire intensified. Then stopped. Sudden, terrible silence. Footsteps on the stairs. Mara grabbed Leo and pulled him behind her, her body a shield. A figure emerged from the darkness. Damien, bleeding from a cut above his eye, but alive. Time to go, he said simply. Marco.
Being detained by the FBI.
They breached 30 seconds after the shooting started. Damien held out his hand. Come on, both of you. Mara took his hand, and together they climbed out of the basement. Out of the place where Alessia had witnessed her uncle's first murder. Out of the nightmare. Into whatever came next. They made it halfway across the factory floor when the explosion hit. The blast threw them forward, a wall of heat and sound that turned the world into chaos. Mara covered Leo's body with her own as debris rained down, twisted metal, shattered glass, chunks of concrete. When the ringing in her ear subsided, she heard Damien cursing. C4, he spat, pulling himself up. Blood ran down his face from a new cut. Marco had the place rigged, but the FBI. Outside. Setting perimeter. He timed it perfectly. Damien grabbed her arm, hauling her and Leo to their feet.
Move.
There'll be more. They ran toward the loading docks, Leo stumbling between them. Behind them, secondary explosions bloomed, smaller, strategic, cutting off escape routes. He's hurting us, Damien realized. Son of a bitch is still playing chess. They burst through a side door into an alley. FBI vehicles blocked one end, their lights flashing.
Safety.
Just 50 yards away. Mom, I can't. Leo's legs gave out. Mara scooped him up, adrenaline overriding exhaustion. They ran toward the FBI line. A black SUV screamed into the alley from the opposite direction, tires smoking. It skidded to a stop between them and the federal agents. Marco stepped out, his shoulder crudely bandaged, gun in hand. 3 of his men flanked him. Did you really think, Marco said, his cultured voice now frayed with pain and rage, that I wouldn't have a contingency plan? Agent Chen's voice boomed through a megaphone. Marco Moretti, you're surrounded. Drop your weapon. I don't think so. Marco grabbed Mara, yanking her and Leo away from Damien. His gun pressed against Leo's temple. Tell them to back off, Agent Chen, or I redecorate this alley with the boy's brain. The FBI agents froze, weapons trained but unable to fire. Marco, don't, Damien said, his voice deadly calm.
This isn't about them.
It's about us. Let them go. Let them go.
Marco laughed bitterly.
So they can testify? So they can put me in prison for the rest of my life? No, brother. We end this now. All of it. You want to end it?
Fine.
Take me instead. Kill me. But let the boy and his mother walk. How noble. Marco's finger tightened on the trigger. You always were the sentimental one. Dad's favorite. The golden son who could do no wrong. Did you know he was going to give you full control of the family? That I was supposed to serve under you forever? Marco. Shut up. Spittle flew from his mouth. I've spent 30 years in your shadow. 30 years cleaning up your mistakes, handling the dirty work you were too precious to touch. And for what? To watch you grieve one stupid girl while the empire crumbled. That stupid girl was my daughter. She was a liability. Just like Vincent. Just like everyone who threatens what we built. Marco pressed the gun harder against Leo's head. The boy whimpered. You want to play hero?
Fine.
Throw down your weapon. Kick it over here. And maybe I let the kid live. Damien's jaw clenched. Slowly, he pulled his gun from his holster. Don't, Agent Chen called. Damien, don't. He dropped the gun and kicked it toward Marco.
Good, Marco said.
Now kneel. Marco, please, Mara begged. Kneel. Damien knelt in the dirty alley, his hands behind his head.
Marco smiled.
You know what's funny? I didn't plan to kill Alessia. After she came back, I thought maybe she'd forgotten. Maybe trauma blocked it out. I could have let her live, his voice cracked. But she looked at me one day, really looked at me, and I saw recognition in her eyes. She knew. She'd always known. So I fixed her car. Made it quick. Painless. There's nothing painless about murdering a child, Damien said quietly. She wasn't a child. She was a witness. Marco turned his gun from Leo to Damien. Just like you're a witness now. Goodbye, brother. The gunshot rang out. But it wasn't Marco's gun. Marco jerked forward, a red hole blossoming in his back. He staggered, turned, and saw Tony Bianchi, standing in the factory doorway, smoking gun in hand. I'm sorry, boss, Tony said to Marco. But I can't let you kill Damien.
He's right.
You've been bleeding the family dry for years. I checked the books. It's all there. Marco's gun wavered. Tony, you're with me. We had a plan. The plan was to take over together. Share power. But you never planned to share, did you? You were going to eliminate me next. I found the contract you put out. 2 weeks after Damien was gone, I was supposed to have an accident. Marco's face contorted with rage. He swung his gun toward Tony. And Damien moved. He lunged forward, tackling Marco. The gun went off, the bullet going wild. They rolled across the concrete, throwing punches, grappling for the weapon. Leo, run. Mara shoved her son toward the FBI line. Agents rushed forward, grabbing Leo and pulling him to safety. Damien got his hands on the gun, but Marco was stronger than he looked. They wrestled for control, the weapon between them, both men's fingers on the trigger. Another shot. Both men froze. Blood spread across the concrete, but for a moment, Mara couldn't tell whose. Then Marco slumped sideways, his eyes already glazing. The bullet had entered under his ribs, angled upward into his heart. Damien stood slowly, the gun falling from his hands. "Boss." Tony ran forward. "Are you hit?" "No," Damien's voice was hollow. "I'm not hit." He stared down at his brother's body. The man who'd killed his daughter, who'd betrayed everything they'd built, who'd died trying to destroy what remained.
"I'm sorry," Damian whispered.
"I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry I couldn't save you from yourself." Marco's lips moved, one final whisper. "You were always blind." Then nothing. FBI agents swarmed in, securing the scene. Agent Chin knelt beside Marco's body, checking for a pulse he wouldn't find. "It's done," Chin said quietly. "It's over." But Damien wasn't looking at Marco anymore. He was looking at Tony, who still held his gun. "You saved my life," Damien said. "You're the boss." "That's my job." Tony holstered his weapon. Besides, Marco was right about one thing, he was bleeding us dry. The family's better off without him. "The family's better off without all of this," Damien said, surprising everyone. The killing, the lies, the endless cycle of revenge. He looked at Agent Chin. "I'm ready to talk. About everything. The whole organization, every operation, every name. I'll give you what you need to shut it all down." Chen's eyes widened. "You're offering to testify? Against your own people?" "They're not my people anymore. My people are dead. Alessia, Vincent, my father, everyone I actually loved is gone. What's left is just business. And I'm done with it." He looked at Mara, who stood holding Leo against the FBI vehicle. "I want to do one good thing before I die. Alessia would want that." Mara met his eyes across the blood-stained alley. This broken man who'd lost everything, but somehow found a shred of redemption in the wreckage. "Thank you," she mouthed. He nodded once, then turned to Chin. "Get them into witness protection. New names, new lives, somewhere far from here. They've earned it." "What about you?"
Chin asked.
"I'll take whatever sentence comes. But first, I have a funeral to arrange." Damien looked down at Marco's body one last time. "He was my brother before he was a monster. That has to count for something." Tony stepped forward. "Boss, if you're really done with the life, what happens to the rest of us?" "You make your own choices. Turn yourself in, get deals, testify. Or run. Or keep the organization going without me. I don't care anymore." Damien's voice was flat, empty. "I'm going to visit my daughter's grave. And then I'm going to prison. That's my future." He walked away, past the FBI agents, past the smoking ruins of the factory, into the night. Mara watched him go, this complicated man who'd saved her son and lost his soul. "Mom?" Leo's voice was small. "Is it really over?" She pulled him close, breathing in the smell of his hair, feeling his heartbeat against her chest. "Yes, baby," she whispered. "It's really over." But as federal agents began to process the scene, as Marco's body was covered with a sheet, as Damien disappeared into the darkness, Mara saw Tony watching her from across the alley. And something in his smile made her realize that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't over at all. 3 weeks later, Mara sat in a federal courtroom, her hand gripping the witness stand railing. The room was packed, reporters, federal prosecutors, defense attorneys, and families of men whose lives were about to be destroyed by her testimony. And in the defendant section, wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs, sat Tony Bianchi. Agent Chen had figured it out 2 days after Marco's death. Tony hadn't saved Damien out of loyalty. He'd killed Marco to eliminate competition. The evidence was buried in the financial records. Tony had been embezzling too, working parallel to Marco, planning to take over once both brothers were gone. And he'd orchestrated Leo's kidnapping himself. "Miss Collins," the prosecutor said gently, "can you tell the court what you found in Alessia Moretti's diary regarding the defendant?" Mara took a breath. There was an entry from about 6 months before she ran away. She'd overheard Marco and Tony arguing. Tony wanted to move faster, get more aggressive with the embezzling. Marco told him to be patient. Alessia didn't understand what they were talking about at the time, but she wrote it down. She wrote everything down. And did you share this information with Mr. Damien Moretti?
Yes.
3 days after Marco died, I remembered that entry. I told Damien, and he had his accountant audit everything. Tony had stolen nearly $2 million over 3 years. Tony's lawyer stood. Objection. This is hearsay. The financial records have been entered into evidence, Your Honor, the prosecutor countered. Ms. Collins is simply providing context. Overruled. Continue. Mara looked directly at Tony. His friendly smile was gone, replaced by cold calculation. Tony was also the one who leaked information to Marco, Mara continued. He told Marco about the diary, about the FBI raid, about the safe house location. He played both sides. And when Marco was about to lose, Tony killed him so he could position himself as the hero who saved Damien. Lies, Tony hissed. All lies. The judge banged his gavel. The defendant will remain silent. Ms. Collins, the prosecutor said, how did you discover Mr. Bianchi was responsible for your son's kidnapping? Agent Chin traced the phone that sent the threatening messages. It was registered to a shell company Tony controlled. And the men who were supposed to be guarding Leo at the real safe house? They were on Tony's payroll. He paid them to sedate Leo and move him to the factory, then planted the dwarf in the fake safe house to make us think we'd rescued him. Why would he do this? To create chaos. To make Damien and Marco destroy each other while he positioned himself to take over. Mara's voice strengthened. He's the reason Alessia's death went uninvestigated. He suppressed evidence, bribed the police detective, made sure it looked like a simple accident. Because if the truth came out, Marco might have implicated him too. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. The judge called for order. I have no further questions, the prosecutor said. Tony's lawyer cross-examined her, trying to poke holes in her testimony, but the evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, phone logs, witness statements from other Moretti associates who'd turned state's evidence. After 2 hours, Mara was excused. She walked out of the courtroom on shaking legs and found Damien waiting in the hallway. He looked different, thinner, older, the weight of his choices carved into his face. He wore a suit instead of prison orange. His cooperation had earned him limited freedom pending sentencing. You did good in there, he said quietly. I just told the truth. The truth, he smiled sadly. Alessia always said that was the most powerful weapon. I never believed her. I thought power came from fear, from control. But she was right. The truth destroyed everything I built, and somehow that feels right. They walked together toward the courthouse exit. What happens now? Mara asked. Tony goes to prison for life. Marco's estate gets liquidated, victims' families compensated. And me? He shrugged. I'll serve probably 15 years. Cooperation deal, voluntary surrender, first-time violent offender status. Agent Chin thinks I'll be out in 10 with good behavior. That's a long time. It's less than I deserve. They stopped at the doors, sunlight streaming through the glass. But I'll use it. Read books. Think. Try to become someone Alessia wouldn't be ashamed of. She loved you, Mara said. Even scared, even running, she loved you. That was in every page of her diary. Damien's eyes reddened. I failed her. You avenged her. You exposed the truth. You protected my son. Mara touched his arm. She'd be proud of who you became in the end. Maybe. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. This is for you. And Leo. Money from my personal accounts. Legitimate money. Nothing criminal. Enough to start over somewhere safe. New names, new lives, like I promised. Damien, I can't. Please. It's the last thing I can do for Alessia. She loved Leo. She'd want him protected. He pressed the envelope into her hands. Take it. Disappear. Be happy. That's all I ask. Mara looked at the envelope, then at this man who'd been a monster and a father, a criminal and a savior. Thank you, she whispered. He nodded once, then walked back toward the courthouse, toward his lawyers, his sentencing, his punishment. Agent Chen appeared at Mara's side. Ready. For what? Witness protection processing. We're moving you and Leo tonight. New identities, new city, new everything. You'll be completely safe. Mara took a breath. Leaving behind everything, her apartment, her jobs, the few friends she had. But Leo would be safe. That was all that mattered. Where are we going? Can't tell you until we're en route. Security protocol, Chen smiled. But it's somewhere warm. Good schools. Quiet. The kind of place where you can forget all this ever happened. Could she forget? Forget Alessia's frightened face when she'd first arrived at the shelter? Forget Leo's tears in that basement? Forget Damien's broken expression as he knelt beside his brother's body? I don't want to forget, Mara said. Alessia deserves to be remembered. The real her, not just the tragedy. Then remember her, Chen said. But do it somewhere safe. The next morning, the New York Times ran a front-page story. Moretti Empire crumbles. Daughter's diary exposes decades of crime. But buried in the middle of the article was a single paragraph that made Mara's blood run cold. While Marco Moretti and Anthony Bianchi faced justice, authorities confirm that several high-ranking Moretti associates remain at large. Sources suggest a power vacuum has created instability within organized crime networks, with various factions competing for control. Federal investigators warn that the dismantling of one criminal empire may have inadvertently sparked a larger underworld war. Mara read it 3 times, sitting in a safe house motel room while Leo slept in the next bed. Her phone, a new one, untraceable, buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The diary didn't just destroy Marco. It exposed everyone. There are people who blame you for what's coming. People who think you should have stayed quiet. Watch your back, Mara. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. She deleted the message, her hands shaking. Outside, a car door slammed. Footsteps approached. Mara stood, moving to the window. FBI agents. Just agents. Doing their rounds. But for how long would she be safe? How long before someone decided that eliminating the witness was worth the risk? She looked at Leo's sleeping form. Innocent, peaceful, unaware of the enemies she'd made by telling the truth. I'm sorry, baby, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Tomorrow, they'd relocate. New names. New lives. But Mara knew the truth that Alessia had learned too late. Some secrets, once exposed, can never be buried again. And the people who want them buried will never stop hunting. 6 months later. The cemetery looked different in the morning light. Peaceful. The storm clouds from that first night had given way to clear skies and gentle warmth. Spring had arrived, bringing new grass and wildflowers that grew in scattered patches between the headstones. Mara, now officially Sarah Mitchell according to her witness protection documents, walked slowly toward Alessia's grave. Leo held her hand, stronger now, braver, though he still had nightmares sometimes. And beside them, escorted by 2 federal marshals, walked Damien. He'd been granted a 4-hour furlough from prison for this visit. His sentencing had been finalized, 12 years, eligible for parole in 8. He wore civilian clothes but moved with the careful restraint of someone who understood his freedom was temporary. You didn't have to come, Damien said quietly as they approached the grave. Yes, I did, Mara replied. We both did. They'd been relocated to Arizona, a small town where nobody knew their faces, where Leo could attend school without fear, where Mara worked at a library and pretended the past 6 months had been a nightmare instead of reality. But some things couldn't be left behind. The 3 of them stood before Alessia's headstone. Someone, probably Damien's remaining family, had placed fresh flowers. The grave was well-maintained, loved, remembered. Hey, sweetheart, Damien said, his voice rough. He knelt, placing his hand on the cold marble. I'm sorry it took so long to visit. Things have been complicated. Leo stepped forward, pulling a folded paper from his pocket. I made this for her. Emma. That's what I called her. He unfolded it carefully, a drawing of a girl with dark hair, smiling, surrounded by butterflies and stars. At the bottom, in careful 8-year-old handwriting, Emma taught me to be brave. Mara's throat tightened. That's beautiful, Leo, Damien said. She would have loved it. Leo placed the drawing at the base of the headstone, securing it with a small rock. Mom says Emma was an angel who came to help us. Is that true? Damien looked at Mara, then back at the boy. Your mom's right. Alessia, Emma was special. She saw goodness in people, even when they couldn't see it in themselves. Did she see goodness in you? The question hung in the air. I hope so, Damien whispered. I really hope so. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Mara pulled out the letter she'd written, the one she'd been reading that first night when Damien found her. She'd rewritten it dozens of times, trying to find the right words. Dear Alessia, she read aloud. Leo and I are safe now. We have a new home, new names, a new life. But we haven't forgotten you. We never will. You gave us 14 months of joy in the middle of your fear. You loved Leo like a brother. You made our tiny apartment feel like a real home. Her voice cracked, but she continued. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you when you went back. I'm sorry the world was so cruel to someone so kind. But I want you to know your truth mattered. Your diary brought justice. Your courage saved lives. You weren't just a victim, Alessia. You were a hero. She folded the letter and placed it beside Leo's drawing. Damien pulled out his own offering, a photograph. Alessia at age 5, sitting on his shoulders, laughing at something off camera. Both of them looked happy. Whole. This was before everything got complicated, he said. Before the business consumed me. Before I stopped seeing her as my daughter and started seeing her as a potential liability to protect, his hand shook. I forgot how to be her father. I'm sorry, baby girl. I'm so sorry. He placed the photograph against the headstone, and for the first time since Mara had met him, Damien Moretti truly cried. Not the controlled grief of a man maintaining composure, but the broken sobs of a father who'd lost everything. Mara put her hand on his shoulder. She forgave you. It's in the last pages of the diary. She wrote that she forgave you for everything because she knew you were trying your best in an impossible situation. I don't deserve her forgiveness. None of us deserve grace, Mara said quietly. But sometimes we get it anyway. They stood together, the single mother, the grieving father, and the child who'd loved the girl who brought them together, as the morning sun climbed higher. Finally, Damien stood, wiping his eyes. Thank you for coming, for letting me say goodbye properly. Will you be okay? Mara asked. In prison. I'll survive. I've made arrangements, testimony, cooperation, protection. Agent Chen assures me I'll be in a secure facility. He looked at her seriously. But you need to stay vigilant. Tony's going away forever, Marco's dead, but there are others. People who lost money, power, family because of what came out. They have long memories. I know. We're careful. Good, he knelt down to Leo's level. You take care of your mom, okay? And remember what Emma taught you about being brave. Being brave means being kind even when you're scared, Leo recited. That's right. Never forget that. Damien stood, shaking Leo's hand formally. You're a good kid. She loved you very much. The marshals stepped forward. Time's up, Mr. Moretti. Damien nodded. He took one last look at his daughter's grave, then at Mara. If you ever need anything. I know. Agent Chen has the contact protocol. Right, he started to leave, then stopped. Mara, thank you. For giving Alessia a family when she needed one. For loving her when I couldn't reach her. For everything. She was easy to love, Mara said simply. Damien smiled, sad but genuine, and walked away between his escorts. Mara watched him go, this complicated man who'd been monster and hero in equal measure. Who'd lost everything but found redemption in the wreckage. Mom, Leo tugged her hand. Can we come back? To visit? Maybe someday, she said, when it's safer. I hope so. I don't want Emma to be lonely. Mara looked at the grave, at the drawing, the letter, the photograph. At this place where a young girl rested, finally at peace. She's not alone, Mara whispered, thinking of all the people whose lives Alessia had touched. She's not alone anymore. They walked away from the cemetery as the sun rose higher, warming the earth, bringing light to dark places. Behind them, a gentle breeze rustled the flowers on Alessia's grave. And somewhere in that wind, Mara could almost hear it, a girl's laughter, free and joyful, finally unburdened by secrets and fear. They walked toward their car, toward their new life, toward whatever future awaited them. The past couldn't be changed. The pain couldn't be erased. But they could choose what came next. They could choose to be brave,
To be kind.
to honor the memory of a girl who'd shown them both what courage really meant. As they drove away, Mara glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. The cemetery grew smaller, then disappeared. But Alessia's lesson remained. Some graves hold bodies,
Some hold secrets.
but some, the most important ones, hold truth. And truth, once freed, can never be buried again.
The end.